If you're anything like me, you guys, you have wanted to start your own podcast, but you really didn't know where to start. I mean, I am a serial entrepreneur. I've been doing this for 6 years. I wanted to start a podcast. I didn't know how to get it off the ground. I had so many questions. How do I record an episode? Where do I find the background music? How am I going to get my podcast on Apple and Spotify and Google Play? All the major places that people like to listen to podcasts. Where do I find advertisers? The answer to every one of these questions was so simple, you guys. I made a Facebook post, I asked for help, and the audience said, Anchor FM. It was a total win. Anchor is a one-stop shop for recording, hosting, distributing, and monetizing your podcast. That's right, you guys. You can make money with Anchor. And best of all, it's 100% free. I mean, it's just so ridiculous. It's such a user-friendly platform. I send my guest a link, boom, we're online, we record, I publish it, and Anchor does all the work. It distributes it to all the platforms that you love. I mean, how much easier can it get? So if you've always wanted to start a podcast, go to anchor.fm/start. That's right, you guys, anchor.fm/start to join me in the diverse community of podcasters already using Anchor. That's right, anchor.fm/start. I can't wait to hear your podcast. And in the meanwhile, join mine, The Sacred Space.
God of my sacred space, help me to find a place where I can be quiet and still, a place where I can hear your still small voice, a place where I can come for healing and comfort. Creating a safe and sacred space is important wisdom during meditation, yoga, while creating art, while dreaming and sleeping, during a healing session for yourself and others, and much more. These are the ways that we learn to shift our own frequency and the frequency of the spaces we live in. Our intentions create our experience, and this is what holds the space as sacred. We have the power to invoke what is sacred in our lives and experiences. Sometimes it's not so much about finding space as there is always space available. It is more about creating the sacred space you need each day. The more time you spend in this sacred space, the longer you can focus on being completely present. And in your presence, you find release from all stress, anxiety, desires, and expectations of the mind. Your sacred space is where you can find yourself again and again. This is the sacred space where sisterhood and intimate conversation ignites spiritual transformation. I am your host, Tara Jackson.
Hey, Sacred. I am your host, Tara Jackson, and I am so excited to welcome our next guest on the show. Join me in welcoming Rubi Davidson, the goddess entrepreneur, soul coach, and speaker. She is a chakra expert, an author, a Reiki Master, and also the host of Soul Therapy Radio. Rubi, let's get into it. Take two.
Yes, ma'am. I'm here. Okay, I'm ready. Let's do this.
Listen, I don't know what's going on, but we are going to figure this thing out. Listen. So I gave our viewers a snippet of who you are. Let's dive in a little bit deeper. Who is the goddess entrepreneur?
The goddess entrepreneur is somebody that's just unapologetically herself. You know, I don't fit into anybody's box. I don't, make excuses, and I try to live life, on my terms as much as possible. So, pretty much with me, getting the name, the chakra expert, of course, for the last few years, I say maybe at least 5, 6 years, I've been, studying the chakras and utilizing the information in my life and my profession as far as working. And then when I made the transition to entrepreneurship, and then from there, I got into Reiki, which I studied to become a Reiki Master. And then from there, the color therapy. And so pretty much everything that I've been doing the last 5 years, I know 4 definitely have pretty much been, around the chakras, which when I wrote the Goddess Grind book series, and, big ups to me, I just finished the entire book series. So I'm
Yes,
excited about
congratulations. Congratulations.
Thank
It's a
you.
lot of hard work, definitely.
Yes. But, all of that came from me starting with the chakras and coming across that information. Once I came across it, it resonated with me, and I just kind of moved forward with it.
So for our viewers who are unaware of what chakra healing is, or Reiki, color therapy, we're working around energy. So can you give them a little bit more insight on how, keep it fundamental for them, keep it to the basics. What is chakra therapy?
Basically with the chakras, they are the 7 main chakras are energy centers that we have within us. It has nothing to do with color, race, ethnicity, religion, none of that. Just like everybody got 2 arms, 2 legs, and can breathe and see, is basically the same thing. It's just our energy body. It's not physical, like you said. It's energy. With our
Right.
energy body, we have these energy centers that are associated with different qualities and aspects of who we are mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and energetically. So whenever they're balanced, we're pretty much at a point in life where we are, aware of who we are. We fully accepted that life happens. We fully accepted that, the way we react to things, we have to be held accountable for. We don't blame anything outside of us for our victories or for our failures or anything like that. We pretty much get to a point where we accept ourselves completely. With Reiki, Reiki is like a universal energy that everybody has access to. It's kind of like think about if you were a little girl, or if you have a child of your own, if they're running or you're running and you fall and scrape your knee, it hurts. But then if you run to mom and she kisses it, then you all of a sudden feel better. So, I mean, she didn't really actually do anything, but it's just like this universal energy that makes us feel better because we know it's there. We feel like it's there. It's always there pretty much. And then
Right.
With the color therapy, it's just a type of therapy that's based on the color spectrum. And, certain colors are associated with certain feelings and they invoke certain emotions. Like, for instance, when you think of the color red, you either think, it's alerting, or it's a warning, or you should stop. Or the color yellow, you think of something that's bright and happy and fun. And when you think of green, you think of money, or you think of eco-friendly or something like that. So that's pretty much what it's associated with. Depending on how you want to feel, then you wear that certain color. Or depending on a different chakra that you want to balance, then you wear the color that's associated with that particular chakra.
Gotcha. So how would our viewers know if their chakras were imbalanced, and just a general idea?
Pretty much everybody's chakras are unbalanced.
Nobody's out there perfect. Nobody's completely balanced out there. So you have to take a deep breath. It's okay.
Exactly. And that's the point. Like, I have to tell people, of course, with me, one of the main services that I offer, or the most popular service that I offer, is a chakra consultation. And people like to be able to see or visually see what's going on. So, of course, I recommend taking the chakra test, which gives you a visual representation of what you are, of where you are mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. And, like we said, nobody is completely balanced all the time. Just like nobody is just completely happy all the time. Life still happens.
Right.
You're feeling emotions, then of course your chakras are going to shift. But you have to become so familiar with your chakra system and your energy body, so that when you feel that shift, you immediately feel it. So you know that, hey, wait a minute, something needs my attention. Let me figure out what it is within me. Because I think that with mental and emotional health, because most people are not in touch with their energy body, it goes on too long. And by the time you realize something isn't right or something isn't going on, you've probably put it off, or it's manifested into some physical illness. But now at this point, you're stressed, you're depressed, you got anxiety, PTSD, you're about all this other stuff. And now it's, it's manifested into something completely different because you don't even know what it feels like from the very beginning.
Right. So what would you say for those people who have lived in extreme, stressful, toxic situations? How do they differentiate between balanced and imbalanced when most of their life has probably been living out of balance anyway?
With that, it definitely takes a lot of work. You can't even begin to get to the point where you can differentiate between one and the other until you are completely okay with who you are and the hand that life has dealt you. It's like you one step at a time, one foot in front of the other. And to get to that particular point, there are some prerequisites. You have to be okay with who you are. You have to be okay with what happened to you, and not to say, that's for you to put it off and pretend like it never happened or anything like that. You're pretty much just coming to terms with, okay, I'm not going to allow this to continue to emotionally or mentally keep me from pursuing the life of happiness I deserve. So once you get to the point where you make the decision that you are now going to take control of your life and be accountable for your healing, then that opens up to where you are able to experience things that are going to help you on that particular journey.
Right. And I think that's why that's why creating the sacred space, creating your own personal sacred space is so important, especially for those people who really don't know a life outside of dysfunction and chaos. Like, they can't recognize positivity. They can't recognize purpose and peace. And so intentionally creating this space for yourself in the world so that you can begin to recognize what's normal, or what's normal for you. Let me say that, because normal for me is not normal for everybody else. But what's normal, what's happy, what's healthy, what's centered for you, if you're not creating this space in your life to do so, it's kind of hard to recognize it. It's kind of hard to see it, because you're almost living this robotic routine life in which you think everything is okay, but your chakras are imbalanced. You're not healthy internally. You have been suffering with mental health issues. Like you said, it's manifesting itself in all these other areas of your life. So for someone that's looking to replenish their spirit after living a chaotic life, what recommendations would you give and what do you do to replenish your spirit?
The first thing I would recommend is to spend some time alone and
creating your sacred space.
Right. Spend that time alone. It's just like we build these attachments and these dependencies on other people. And whenever those people are not there or they don't show up for us, then we feel some type of way. But we have to kind of turn our thinking around and know that, it's nobody's responsibility to be there for us or to take care of us. It's our own responsibility to do that for ourselves. So you have to start there, like become comfortable with being alone and not always feeling like you need somebody there.
So then explain to our viewers, because I know it absolutely took me a long time to decipher between the two, attachment and connection. Attachment and connection. We should be connecting in life and not attaching. So give our viewers an idea of what it looks like to be attached and what it looks like to be connected.
Well, with an attachment, the biggest difference between the two is when we attach, it's like you are grabbing on to someone. They haven't given you their permission to attach to them. Kind of like I can't even think of the word right now, but kind of like a
leech.
Yeah,
a parasite.
It happens to you, and it sucks. It sucks life out of you. It sucks, energy out of you. And when you build this attachment or you establish this connection this attachment to someone, then it's like you don't have their permission to do it. They may not even want you to be attached to them. And if you become attached, then it's going to become unhealthy, because once you become attached, then it's like you need them. They play you give them this power to where they have this role in your life that they're not even aware of.
Right.
Right.
So
and
what
it's
does it look
just
like for you to detach once you recognize you are attached? And it's almost like you're using that person as a lifeline.
Mm-hmm.
So then what was some steps what steps would you give our viewers to detach?
Well, the first step is to recognize that there is an attachment there.
Absolutely.
A few ways to recognize if there is an attachment is, can you do anything without this person in your life? And it's like, can you go to the bathroom without thinking about this person? I need this person to be there. Okay.
But that's real though. That may sound crazy to our viewers, but I have known and I have been a woman in my life that could not function without that other being. Like, it was so heart-wrenching. It was so painful, gut level painful, and not recognizing attachment and connection. Listen, you will call it a connection. You will call it love, and it's not.
Exactly. And then with another sign is if this person leaves your life, will you continue to be happy? Are you happy by yourself? Because people there are different types of attachments. There are mental attachments, emotional attachments, energetic, attachments. And it's just like, if that person's energy is not present, are you able to function? If you're not having a stimulating conversation with this person, are you still able to function?
And not just people, Rube, right? Not just people.
Yeah.
You can be connected to places and situations,
ideology,
jobs, ideologies. Like that attachment goes deeper than just people. And we're chatting about this to the sacred space community, because before you can really create a sacred space, there are some things you gotta at least have a shift in perspective, because your sacred space will almost become tainted. It will not be a place of peace for you, because your spirit is so cluttered. You can't necessarily get what it is that you need.
Right.
So
that is exactly
it. And go ahead, Ruth. We've recognized the signs of attachment, or we're at least beginning to recognize the signs of attachment. How can we break these attachments, these soul ties?
With breaking it, it has to stem from you realizing that everything that you are looking for outside of you is already within you. Sometimes you just have to find it. You have to know that everything that you're looking for outside of you is already within you. Absolutely. The love that you out there searching for is already there. The trust that you out there searching for is already there within you. The respect that you out there looking for is already within you. And it's just like, how can you expect to find this outside of you when you don't even give these things to yourself?
Right.
That just doesn't really make sense. Not at this particular point in my life.
Right. And I'm not even sure how it transpires. I think that we get messages along the way, mixed messages, along the way, that especially as women, we are to give and pour until we're completely empty in order to be valued. And, now on the outside looking in, I can see it really clearly. I can see where the programming kicked in along the way. As a woman, you should be doing A, B, and C. And it was always at your own demise.
Right.
Giving up to your husband, giving up to your family, giving up to your children, giving up to your job, giving up to, fill in the blank. And then at the end of the day, once you were depleted, you had to find what it was that you needed, whether that was love or attention. You didn't have it because you gave it all away. So I think a shift in perspective is absolutely essential. Again, before you can really begin to create this sacred space for yourself, you really got to be able to recognize almost the backwardness in your thought process.
You have to. You move forward in the dysfunction. Now you have to learn to move backwards out of the dysfunction. And then,
right.
when you following the GPS system, or you get some wrong direction. Sometimes you got to backtrack. Okay, let me go back here and make this turn and go this way instead. It's the same thing.
Or even recognizing, Rube, have you ever been driving and GPS wanted you to go in a certain direction, but something within your spirit was like, that's not the right way?
Yes.
You know, like, I've driven this route. I've been to this place.
She'll catch up eventually.
Right. So recognizing in your spirit where along the way, and I know that we've all done this, hindsight is 2020. When you look back, you had questions, you had doubts, you had reservations, but you went along with that particular journey or that particular person, place, or situation anyway. So that it goes to show that you had the information, you just didn't use it.
Exactly. That's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
And then, to finish answering the question, when you would ask me about the difference between attachment and connection, or were you still talking about attachment?
No, we can get into, we've recognized some attachments if you want to go a little bit deeper into the attachments, but then I want to also talk about detaching and what that looks like.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, really with the attachments, as far as me personally, anytime I meet somebody new or anytime I come across anything new, whether it be personal, business related, it doesn't matter, then I have to sit with myself and say, how does this contribute to what your purpose is, what it is that you're trying to do? Is there, I tell people all the time, never attached, always connected. And it's because I don't ever want to feel like I have to go outside of myself to get what it is. It's just like, if I can't provide it for myself, then maybe that's a sign I don't need it. And I need to just let that be.
Right.
Because that's another thing people do. They will go to I'll use relationships, for example. If this man is not spending time with you, he's not checking up on you, why do you feel like, oh, he's the one that you need to be with? Oh, this is the one that I really have to show him that he's the one for me. No, he's not.
Because you don't know how to protect your sacred space. The sacred space is not always a physical thing. It's mental, it's emotional, it's spiritual. Are you protecting do you even recognize this brother isn't for you? Do you know how to protect your womb? Do you know how to protect your heart? Do you know how to protect your mind? I think because but a lot of women have had attachments and not connections to men. They have no idea how to regulate energy, how to protect their sacred space, let alone even create a sacred space for themselves.
Listen to themselves.
Listening to your own spirit. And I was going to ask you as you were speaking, how do they even know? And I know this now. I definitely didn't know this 7 years ago. How do you know when you're actually connecting and not attaching to someone that you've met or even a place or situation for the first time?
Mm-hmm. The way that for me, it has nothing to do with anything physical. It has nothing to do with, oh, I think he's fine. Oh, he, makes me feel a certain way.
Right.
It's just that you find yourself just talking about some of the dumbest stuff that you would never tell anybody. And it's just like, why am I telling him this?
It's almost a level of freedom. There's no reservations, there's no worry, there's no doubt. It's like you've known this person forever.
Right. And you're just authentically yourself. And it's just like, you're to the point where you don't care what he thinks. What he might say doesn't even bother you, whether he liked what you did or not. You're so confident in yourself and so comfortable with who you are and what you've been through. It's just like, you could take me as I am or leave me here. It don't matter to me.
Right. And what you do and how you respond to who I am is not going to shift who I am or how I behave, how I move forward with you. When you start finding yourself making changes within yourself for other people, you're probably attaching versus connecting.
Oh, well, he don't like this. Let me switch this up.
Right.
Let me do this thing. No, that's you trying to get attached. You're not trying to connect. And, and I just thought about this and us, having this discussion. I think society has it of course, people say make sure you're friends first before getting into a relationship. And yeah, I completely agree with that. That comes with connecting, making sure that you all are compatible. You have some things in common, not
Right.
everything, but you can effectively communicate. You can accept him and he can accept you. But we've gotten so much into relationship talks and wanting to be in relationships, and why are there so many single women? Why are people getting divorced? It's just like, think about it. Most people, if they go out to a bar and they meet somebody, oh, he's this and he's nice or whatever, the first thing that you're thinking about is, how can we be in a relationship? It's just like every person that you meet, you're not meant to evaluate for a relationship.
Right. I think again goes back to programming,
Mm-hmm.
that women and men, specifically women, probably don't even know what it means to have a platonic relationship with a man. So they're always looking for, is he an ideal mate?
Right.
Because they have no idea what a platonic relationship with a man is. A man can possibly like me just to like me. It has to be something more than that. Again, coming back to the sacred space and creating that sacred space for yourself. When you do so and you become more in tune with yourself, you recognize those things so much easier.
Mm-hmm.
Your mind isn't cluttered with all of these ideas that are fixated on, like you said, every time I meet somebody, I'm thinking about, being in a relationship with intimate relationship with them versus just connecting with another human being.
Right. And having genuine conversation, just being able to be comfortable asking questions that people would be like, I wouldn't ask them that on the first date. Why not? It's
Right.
important.
Because we're having a human experience. We're having a spiritual experience. Right. We should be connecting to the people that we crossed paths with. How do you think that, because I have a ton of questions, because you are the perfect person to answer a lot of these questions. How do you think that spirituality and religion play a part in how we're connecting, how we're attaching to people in our everyday lives?
I think when it comes to religion, and I do have to say I'm spiritual, I'm not religious, I don't go to church. But that's my preference.
Right.
But in my opinion, when it comes to religion, I feel like religion puts us in a box. There's a lot of different boxes. And if you don't fit in this box, or that box doesn't fit in this one, or if that person doesn't fit in this box, then they're automatically out of the picture of dating and relationships, because it's just like, we're not equally yoked, or we don't have this in common, or he goes to church but he celebrates Halloween, and it's just like everything else that you would want a man to do, and he respects you, he does this, he all these things that you want, but he celebrates Halloween, and because he doesn't fit in your box of not celebrating Halloween, then you're going to completely overlook him.
Missing that spiritual experience.
Right. It's just like,
that you may have been able to have with that person.
Is he out here beating you? Is he out here mentally and physically abusing you?
Listen, but this is why I believe that the sacred space is so important in creating one for yourself, because when you strip yourself of religion and politics and money and statuses and attachments, and you get all the way down to you without all of these other things attached to it, you are able to have those experiences with people, and you don't have to be locked into, they have to meet the list 1 through 10 before I can have an experience with this person. Like, we're really missing all of the gems and jewels and messages and lessons along the way, because we're inside all of these boxes. Again, why I believe the sacred space is so important. Like, I'm in my sacred space right now talking to you. This is the place where nothing else in the world matters. Like, I'm completely, absolutely, without a shadow of a doubt, me. Without, all of the titles, mom, dad, mom, sister, wife, all of that doesn't matter. In your sacred space. And I just don't think that enough of us, especially women, get this time to find out who we are without the roles, without the boxes, without the titles, without the religion, without, whatever you want to attach to it. I'm not even sure that we actually know who we are if we strip away all those things.
No, we don't.
So then tell our viewers, for someone like yourself, do you have a specific spiritual practice that you would share with our viewers that is practical but powerful they could implement in their lives and into their sacred space?
The first type, I always recommend meditation, but the first type of meditation that I always go to is mindfulness meditation. The reason I recommend that is because you can be anywhere. You can do it at a moment's notice. It doesn't matter if you do 5 minutes or 50 minutes. You don't have to worry about closing your eyes. You don't have to worry about it being completely quiet or completely dark or anything like that. Pretty much with mindfulness meditation, you can just be sitting in the car, and it's pretty much just a gathering of your thoughts.
Okay. So give us an example.
Like for example, for those of us that work a job or if we're full-time entrepreneurs, every day I always recommend, take a little break and just wherever you can, sit outside in the car or sit on a bench, just sit there. And for, let's say, the first minute or two, just focus on your breathing. Just focus on inhaling and exhaling, and that's it. Don't even think about anything or don't try to think about anything. And then after you've, paid attention to your breathing, I know some people still have thoughts running, but what I tell them is what you should do, try to listen for your heartbeat. That'll give you something to do while you're focusing on your breathing. It doesn't matter whether you actually end up hearing it. It's just that now you have something to focus on. Your mind is occupied. And, after doing that for about 2 minutes, then each of the 5 senses, just go through each one. Pick out one thing that you see. Pick out one thing that you hear. Pick out one thing that you can smell. Pick out one thing that you can touch and one thing that you can taste. And it's just like now your mind is focused on the present moment, what you're doing right now. It doesn't have time to think about what happened 10 minutes ago. It's not focused on what's going to happen 10 minutes from now. You are basically in the moment, just learning to enjoy the moment.
And to our viewers that are listening, Rubi just described taking 5 minutes out of your day at work to create your sacred space. This is 5 minutes of your time to get with yourself, to declutter. If you, experience anxiety or stress or depression or whatever it is going on in your day, you just took 5 minutes in what Rubi just shared and created your sacred space. It's not going to look the same for everybody, and you can do it anywhere you are, whether you're at home or on the job or, wherever. You can take 5 minutes of your day and carve out that space simply for you. Go ahead, Rubi.
Right. And that's pretty much it. After you've gone through each of the 5 senses, then focus on listening to your heart again. Just you're focusing on your breathing. And then that's it. That's pretty much it. For people, like, I know sometimes we can be out in public and hear a certain song or smell a certain scent or see a certain place, and it throws us back into, it could be a moment that could have been a very unfortunate or negative moment for you. And we know sometimes, especially, I know I keep going back to relationships, but this is what people are most able to relate
to.
Right, but
right.
If this song was you and your boo song back from 2003 and y'all ain't together no more and the song comes on, guess where your mind is going to go? Right. It's going to go right back to 2003. Then you're going to be like, oh, I miss him, but then this happened and then this happened, and then you completely somewhere else mentally and emotionally. And it's like, wait a minute, how do I get back to where I was? Mindfulness meditation puts you back where you were.
Absolutely. And that's like I was saying, practical but powerful. I think sometimes we complicate it and we think that it has to be just hard, or it's got to take a lot of time. And mindfulness meditation is something I do it a lot of times in the tub. get still and just, declutter from the entire day of, whatever's transpired in your day, just getting to a place of relaxation, reflecting and releasing and renewing and restoring, again, creating your sacred space. I want to keep saying that and keep emphasizing that it can look like yoga. It can look like meditation. It can look like balancing your chakras or having a Reiki session. It looks like what it needs to look like for you and not the rest of the world. So for you, Ruby, what does your sacred space look like?
My sacred space is actually karaoke.
See, there we go. Prime example. Ladies, it looks like what you need it to look like. Ruby loves to sing. So explain how you got to a place of understanding that singing brought you so much solitude and peace and somewhat purpose.
Okay, what got me there is, I've always enjoyed karaoke, but within the last, I'd say maybe 4 years, when I was living in Florida, I bought me a karaoke machine and I would just sit down and sing for hours. And it was just like nobody there but me. I had my own mic, my own machine. And, I would do this when I wasn't at work. And, sometimes the guy I was dating, he would come home. He was like, "You still sing?" And I'm like, "Yeah."
Anita Baker, track 8. Yes, right. I'm still singing.
And then once I moved here to Georgia, I found me a karaoke spot. My mom, she always goes. So, me and her always go and hang out, and faithfully every Monday and every Wednesday, I'm always there. It's the atmosphere. It's just the opportunity to get to sing. And, I've never considered myself a singer, but the more you do it, the better at it you get.
Right. So is it more about socialization or the music and the frequency that it's on, the vibration? What is it about karaoke that just excites your soul?
It's like the music, the vibration. I always felt like I had a way of, and I don't want to make it seem weird, but I had like this power over people in a sense. Mm-hmm. Whenever I had a mic in my hand or whenever I was in front of a crowd of people. Okay. I always had a way of drawing people in, and karaoke is just another way for me to do that. Instead of speaking, then I'm actually singing. Gotcha. And that's just like, singing for me is just like, it captures the essence of who I really am.
I like that. It's another creative art.
Right. And at that moment, that's just like my place of bliss, my place of happiness, my place of just sheer enjoyment. And then it's just like, once the song is over, the song is over. Oh, okay, when do I go again?
I'm ready to go again. Because, most people are absolutely deathly afraid to get on a mic and sing, let alone speak in front of people. So it's definitely powerful or empowering to be able to do so without fear. Do you remember a time where you were fearful of doing it, speaking or singing in front of people?
I'm like, why she shaking? But now it's just to the point where it's just like,
you've been empowered.
Yeah, it's just like, I would sing as loud as I want to. I'm gonna try this song. I don't mind. He was like, "You want to try this song?" Yeah, I tried. And it's just like, I'm not fearful of that anymore. And that just goes to show you, those things that we fear, you just have to get out there and do them. And each time you do them, you become less fearful of it. And becoming less fearful, you're basically taking your power back from that.
Yes, reclaiming your power. I love it. And again, to our viewers, I think this is a prime example of, it doesn't have to look like what we deemed health and wellness. There's so many different ways to replenish your spirit, take care of your mental and emotional. Ruby has just found it with music, which I think is absolutely awesome, because it's fun. You get to laugh, you get to connect with people, you get to dress up. Sometimes we make a fool out of ourselves. We've seen those people. I was one of those people maybe 10 years ago, girl. First time, last time. Like, don't ever get back on the stage again. But you know,
Girl, you
that
just got
is
small.
the
That's
place
it. You
in the world that you find solitude. I love it because the gym is my sacred space. And it's crazy that the gym has become my sacred space, but it is the place where like the rest of the world just is completely drowned out. And I'm
mm,
there in one within myself. So how do you protect your sacred space? And not just in a sense of karaoke, but for women who are creating their sacred space or who have created their sacred space in the world, how do they then protect it from outward forces?
mhm. Well, women have to first kind of realize and understand that your sacred space is you. Anything, any particular place outside of you is just an extension of who you are.
Mm-hmm.
You
Yes,
essentially
please say that.
protect yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and in doing that, I
Say
just
that again. Ooh,
make
say
sure
that again. Say that one more time. I heard it and then I had to, yeah, say that one more time. Your sacred space is what?
your sacred space is yourself,
Yes,
your body,
ma'am.
your mind, and anything, any place physical, like a location or a place in the room, that's just an extension of who you are.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. Powerful,
Sacred
powerful
space.
statement.
Yes. And in order to protect that, I'm always conscious of the energies around me. I've gotten to the point where I'm just so in touch with myself and so in tune with my energy body that I'm able to tell my energy from somebody else's.
Mm,
And if I come into a room or somebody approaches me and their energy is off, then I have to, immediately catch myself. This is not yours. This is theirs. Do not let this, intertwine. Do not absorb this. If anything, are you um are you comfortable enough to the point where if I need to give some of my energy to them, then yeah, I'm comfortable enough to do that. Because if I come across somebody and their energy is off or it's negative, then I at least want them to walk away from me feeling a little better than how they approached me. So,
right.
definitely, take that into consideration. I spend a lot of time alone. Like I spend 90% of the time
I
by
do
myself.
too. I do too. I do too. But you know what? I think you will agree, it does help in recognizing other people's energy, their spirit, whatever they're vibrating on, for you to be able to determine, like you just said, I know how much energy I can give you.
Right.
For one, because I'm alone so much that I've learned, myself, I'm in tune with myself enough to know that, yeah, this all about you. That right
Mhm.
there ain't got nothing to do with me, versus picking it up and making it our own. I think that's a huge problem for us, is you'll be able to recognize that energy isn't yours, but then you give your power away.
Mhm. And then people don't realize it. Just like, people should think about when they argue. When they see people arguing, and it's just like first it starts off kind of small, then it just gets bigger and bigger from there. That's that negative energy feeding off one and the other and just going back and forth. That's
Right.
pretty much what it is. And you can start off saying little bitty things, but then by the end of the conversation, you got a little this and this thing and all this. You're like, wait a minute. Where did all of this come
Right. Where
from?
did that come from? I was listening to Will and Jada talk on the is it the Red Table Talk? And they said that when they are in a space where they know they're getting ready to possibly argue about something, each one of them knows that the argument is only going to manifest more anger, more resentment, more. So they choose to walk away from one another, process whatever it is that they feel, and then come back to the center in order to speak. Because again, like you just said, now we're feeding off of each other's negative energy, and it's just manifesting into something much bigger than was when you go back and go, well, what the hell was this about in the first place?
You don't even remember.
Don't remember, or it's so minor, you're like, this is stupid, this is petty, this doesn't make any sense, like this thing just,
Broke
you
up
know
the dishes. and you ain't even hungry no more.
Right. So I got a couple of more questions for you before we wrap up this podcast. This has been absolutely phenomenal. How would you say creating your own sacred space, recognizing that that is within me, and the areas in which karaoke or altar or chakra therapy is the extension, how has this absolutely changed your life?
Girl, let me tell you.
Listen, hello, they don't know.
I can't even remember the last time. Oh, well, let me put it like this. I don't remember the last time I was just hurt and sad and, anything like that. But I have shared this a few times. I'd say it's been more than 10 years now.
Wow.
But when I was working, when I was younger, I dealt with depression twice. And I know a lot of people say, well, there's not a cure for mental illness. There's not. And to me, I'm like, well, yes, there is. I mean, there's a cure for it, because even though I dealt with it that long ago, I haven't dealt with it recently.
Right.
And the reason I haven't dealt with it is because my chakras are balanced. When something happens that's negative or what I'm not exactly happy about, then I take the time at that moment to process how I feel about it and why do I feel a certain way about it.
Going into that sacred space. Come on, girl.
Right. And okay, was there anything that triggered this? And I have to give myself to process what's going on and why, and say, you know what, I feel this certain way about this particular situation. So the next time, if there is a next time the situation happens, then I can catch it before and say, Ruby, you know where this is going, mentally and emotionally prepare for what's about to happen, and don't react to it in such a negative way. I think now, a lot of people, they don't have time to really process what's going on. They don't have time to sit and think, why does this affect me a certain way? It's just something happened. You got a flat tire. Now you're going to be late for work. Now you got this attitude because you're going to be late for work. And then you start thinking about all this other stuff. Well, I done got this many points, and it just kind of spirals
out of control. Right.
And then it's just like, if you would have just taken a moment, you're going to be late for work anyway. So you might as well just take 5 minutes and really process what's going on.
Right. How important do you think being in tune with your own sacred space is for sisterhood? I'm sorry.
It's extremely important, because I've learned that, one, when you are in tune with your own sacred space, then you attract other sisters that are in tune with theirs.
Girl, listen.
You get to the point where you all are able to have conversations that you normally couldn't have with just anybody. Understand each other, not understand to where it's just like, we're gonna say, well, you don't need to be with that man, you don't need to do this, you don't need to do that. It's more of, we're not even worried about him right now. What's going on with you? What can we do to help you? What is it? How is this making you feel? It's more so, we're so comfortable in ourselves, we don't mind pouring into each other when it's needed or when it's necessary.
Right.
It's not about what's happening outside of you or who's affecting you outside of this. Is more so on you, because we know with our, with the sacred space, it starts with us. Everything is outside of us.
Did y'all hear that, sisters? I don't know if they heard you, Ruby. In this sisterhood circle of women that we both are acquainted with, we are going to discuss what's going on with you. We're really not going to talk about things on the outside of you, because again, the sacred space is within you. It's going to come back to you. We could solve so much in sisterhood if we just simply focused in on sisterhood. Sister, your sister, not all of these things on the outside of her, what's going on within. I think that's huge, because we do talk about the husbands and the cheating baby daddies and the jobs and the car broke down and the side pieces and
the side pieces.
Right. We talk about all of these things on the outside of that person versus sis, what's going on within the sacred space? What's going on with you? That's how we can help you. When we can connect to what's going on with you. Otherwise, we just talking to be talking.
And that's it.
Absolutely powerful. Absolutely powerful. Right. It seems so simple. And I will say this, the moment you begin to question that, question yourself, then you'll find yourself in these outward situations that don't make sense. To keep it simple, that don't make sense. So to wrap up, tell our viewers where again they can find you online, anything you have coming up for events. We know Rubi has a lot going on. We want to make sure that our viewers catch you online and any upcoming events that you have going on.
Yes, you can find me online. Actually, there's 2 websites, so take note of both of them. But the first one, the main website is www.thegoddessgrind.com. There you can purchase the books, you can schedule chakra consultations, you have all of my coaching or consulting information. And then, of course, like Tara said, she is one half of Soul Therapy Radio, but you can find us online at www.soultherapyradio.life. That particular, with Soul Therapy Radio, also with Tara and another sister of ours, Miss Kira. We are having an upcoming event that will be December the 8th. That's called The Sacred Soul. And pretty much that's just going to be a celebration of healing for men and women, a chance for us to talk about our healing journeys and to celebrate the progress that we've made thus far. Lots of self-love, self-care, self-acceptance, and just being in an atmosphere of other people. It's like we were talking about the sacred space. You got to surround yourself, with other like-minded and like energy. You know what? I'm gonna start using that like energy.
Yes, that's good. I love it.
Like energy individuals, and just start being able to have these conversations similar to what we're having now. So that's December 8th. That will be in Stone Mountain, Georgia. You can definitely find all the information on the website, which you can go to bit.ly /The Sacred Soul. But there are
what's
limited.
That next show on Soul Therapy Radio? What date is that for Soul Therapy Radio listeners? Power 108.9 out here in Atlanta. When's our next show date?
The next show date is November the 11th at noon Eastern, and the topic is there's levels to this ish. We're talking about healing. It's levels to healing.
Absolutely. You can also find Rubi online, Facebook, Soul Therapy Radio, as well as Instagram. And let's see, where else you got going on, Rubi?
So right now, my focus
Soul
is
Sundays. I'm telling y'all, Rubi got a lot going on. We'll make sure our viewers catch you online. Soul Sunday with Allison Denise.
Yes, that is every Sunday. Right now it's via Facebook Live, but you got to keep up with the time, so that will be transitioning to a podcast as well. But right now you can find us on Facebook Live. You can find me on Facebook, Rubi L. Davidson. That's Rubi with an I. Or either you can visit our YouTube channel where every episode is uploaded there. New episodes every Sunday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 1 p.m. Central Standard Time.
Awesome. Well, Rubi, I want to thank you for joining me this afternoon on the Sacred Space podcast. Sacred Space viewers, if you are not in the community on Facebook, please join us on Facebook, the Sacred Space community. Tune in next week. We will have a special guest for you all. We'll continue to talk about the sacred space and what it means to sisterhood. Thank you. We love you. Enjoy.